Hi, everyone. My name is Paulo. I'm a PhD student from the University of Hertfordshire in the UK, and I'm excited to present to you work I've been doing with CatLab from UCL on the relationship between attachment anxiety and social peripersonal space. As some of you may know, peripersonal space refers to the portion of space surrounding the body where interactions between the body and the environment occur. This term came to be after studies in primates discovered a specific population of multisensory neurons that are selectively responsive to somatosensory, visual, or auditory stimulus occurring close and not far from the body. In other words, when simultaneous multisensory stimulus occur inside the peripersonal space bubble, its processing is increasingly facilitated by this population of multimodal neurons. Importantly, our peripersonal space is dynamic rather than static, and it expands and shrinks depending on the environment. For example, it may shrink in the presence of a threat and expands when we want to reach a tool. The dynamic component of peripersonal space is also influenced by our individual traits, culture, past experiences, and importantly, as we live in a social environment, the nature of our social interactions and how we perceive others. In light of this, in the present study, we decided to investigate the modulatory effects of attachment anxiety on social peripersonal space. We focus on attachment anxiety as it is characterized by hyperactivation of attachment behavior involving worrying about rejection and the persistent checking for signals of support from others. For this, we recruited 68 females divided into two groups based on their attachment anxiety scores as measured by the ECR questionnaire. One high attachment anxiety group and one low attachment anxiety group. We used visual tactile multisensory integration task where participants would see a looming ball approaching them and were asked to react to a tactile stimulus being delivered on their hand at specific time points from the beginning of each trial. Each participant performed this task twice, once facing another individual and one facing an empty chair. Roughly, the analysis of this data involved the fitting of linear and sigmoid functions to the distribution of reaction times across the time points of stimulation. The slope of the linear function gives us the level of differentiation between close and far space, and the central point of the sigmoid is a proxy for the boundary of peripersonal space. Our results showed a significant three-way interaction between attachment anxiety group, social context, and time point of stimulation. Specifically, we saw that for the low attachment anxiety group, there was a greater differentiation between close and far space when facing a stranger when compared to not facing a stranger. Also, we found greater differentiation between close and far space in the non-social condition for the high attachment anxiety group when compared to the low attachment anxiety group. Also, as seen on the graph on the right, we were able to replicate previous findings, reporting a shrink in peripersonal space by the mere presence of a stranger. As a whole, our results seem to indicate that indeed attachment anxiety modulates social peripersonal space. When it comes to the presence or absence of a stranger, it seems like people scoring high on attachment anxiety have a less dynamic peripersonal space, keeping a steep difference between inside and outside of the PPS boundary, even if this boundary shrinks in the presence of a stranger. By opposition, people scoring low on attachment anxiety have a more dynamic peripersonal space, showing steepness difference in the presence versus absence of a stranger. Ultimately, attachment anxiety influences the rigidity of social peripersonal space, making the processing distinction within and outside our reach greater and less dynamic. Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you to all my colleagues at CatLab for the help in this research.